As technical rescuers, we've been wondering how much fall exposure we have when hanging from a high directional just before we begin a rescue operation. I'm Tom Penley. I'm here with Reed Thorne at the Glendale Regional Public Safety Training Center. We have rescuers from around the state, and today we hope to answer some important questions by doing drop testing on an Arizona Vortex with a 600-pound load to show just exactly what happens when we try to protect that exposure. You'll also see what happens when there is no protection and the main line fails at the worst possible time. Let's go take a look at it.
In 2005, Reed Thorne and Ropestead Rescue conducted drop testing with a 280 kilogram mass at the edge transition on an artificial high directional. These tests used tandem Prusik belay and Sterling HTP low stretch rescue rope. The configuration was consistent with the British Columbia Council for Technical Rescue belay competency tests. Many drops were conducted over a 3-day period. When the main line failed with the rescue load at the edge transition, falls exceeding 3.35 meters resulted. In many cases, fall factor 1 falls were observed. This far exceeded the recommendation 0.33 maximum fall factor. A fall factor 1 situation with rescue loads is considered by most to be unacceptable. Ropestead Rescue set about designing a method to protect or eliminate this dangerous fall potential. So the question we ask is, what happens if you temporarily support the belay line in an artificial high directional? More importantly, what happens if the 280 kilogram mass falls on the high directional? As you see in this photo, the belay line is supported in a steel carabiner and Aztec Elite Pro set of 4s. This allows the belay line to be lowered to the edge as soon as the rescue load is lowered below that level. We wanted to know how the system would perform under worst case scenario conditions. So on January 18, 2012, Ropestead Rescue, Desert Rescue Research, and CMC Rescue combined efforts to perform drop tests onto the AHD and set of 4s with a 280 kilogram test mass. We set up an Arizona Vortex over an open shaft and configured the 280 kilogram test mass with sandbags. So again, we were testing the Vortex itself to see how it performed catching this sudden shock load. And we were testing the Aztec Elite Pro set of 4s. The Aztec set of 4s is rated to 36 kilonewton, but you kind of want to see how it performs in the situation with the shock load rather than a slow pull. This illustration shows a concept of temporarily supporting the belay line while the rescue load is at its maximum elevation transitioning the edge. You can see that a mainline failure at this point would result in a catastrophic fall, with the basket overrunning the rescuer. With the belay line supported, that fall will be dramatically reduced. It's important to consider the forces at the directional. If the rescue package weighs 600 pounds or 280 kilograms, we will see a corresponding 600 pounds at the anchor. However, in this case, we will also see roughly 900 pounds at the directional, because of course, that directional creates mechanical advantage. With the angle somewhere between 60 and 90 degrees, we are recording about 900 pounds of static force at the high directional. We did 5 drops. I thought it would be best to review the summary of each drop prior to watching the video. Drop 1 had a 280 kilogram mass and an Aztec set of 4 was the directional. In drop 1, the blue Prusik on the set of 4 was engaged. We saw about 25 centimeters of slippage of the 6mm Prusik on the 9mm rope on the set of 4s. After the test, it was noted that the sheath of the blue Prusik was damaged and core was visible. The core did not appear to be damaged. The belay on drop 1 was tandem Prusiks on PMI half-inch easy bend rope, and the Prusiks were 8mm 3-wrap and manufactured by and sewn into bound loops by Sterling. There was no load releasing hitch, and there was minimal slack in the belay line. The peak force recorded at the high directional was 1,631 pounds force. Alright, let's watch drop 1 video.
Running.
Everybody ready?
Is everybody ready?
Ready.
Go for it.
3, 2, 1.
That's it.
2, 1.
That's it. That's it.
Drop 2 was configured in a similar way to Drop 1, except we used the orange prusik on the set of 4 because the blue prusik was ruined. We noticed a little bit less slippage on the orange prusik. The theory is that there was less force on the orange prusik because it actually holds 1/4 of the load, where the blue prusik supports 1/3 of the load. The belay was tandem prusik identical to Drop 1 with minimal slack. Peak force was 1,807 pounds force. We assume that this was a bit larger than Drop 1 because all knots and components had been tightened during Drop 1. We did not retie and replace rope and anchors with each drop. So let's watch Drop 2 video.
1.
Oh my gosh, it did it again. About the same. Look at the energy it absorbed. I'm impressed.
1.
Oh my gosh, it did it again. About the same. Look at the energy it absorbed. I'm
What do we look
impressed.
like, Tony? Didn't move at all.
I am impressed.
This is the force graph for Drop 2. Notice that we go from 0 pounds force to about 1,800 pounds force very quickly, followed by a rebounding period. Also notice the static force of the 280 kilogram mass, which is about 600 pounds force, at the directional was right around 900 pounds force. For Drop 3, we used a new Aztec, and we began with the blue prusik engaged. Like the first test, we saw roughly 25 centimeters of slippage of the blue prusik and subsequent minor damage to the sheath of the blue prusik. The core appeared intact. We also noted significant glazing of the 9mm host rope by the prusiks. We used a CMC Rescue MPD as the belay for Drop 3. There was minimal slack in the system, the belay was not manned, and the parking brake was not set. We noticed about 5 centimeters of slippage at the MPD. Peak force on Drop 3 was 1,799 pounds force. The belay rope was the same half-inch PMI easy bend. So let's watch Drop 3 video.
Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
Nice.
3, 2, 1.
Nice.
Right.
We move right into it and then we go.
Yeah.
We don't lock it.
Good?
But the thing is, check this out.
Yeah.
It still works.
Oh, those things are badass.
They're totally bad.
You don't have to convince
No, they're really good.
people that have spent time with them.
Cedric's been just jonesing to do that.
Yeah.
With a load on it after.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Very impressed with that. Look at how much slippage. Can you measure that, Dale, and get us the slippage on that?
Yeah, do we have a, let me have that tape measure.
Tape measure on that, and let's measure the slippage. Now, Tom, look at the glazing on here. It looks like it's glazed all the way to the opposite side. Can you see it? Right there. Right over there is where the
Wow,
mark
that's
is, and
where
it's
it
all
began.
glazed all the way around this thing. It's a major shock absorber. That's amazing.
From top to the
6,
bottom,
8 inches. 10
you're looking at
inches.
about almost 10 inches.
Yeah.
Almost 10 inches.
Almost 10 inches
That's
put on that mark.
It's absorbing shock that you're not.
Big.
This guy. Yeah.
Big time.
And that one absorbed a little too.
2
So.
inches. 2 inches, 10 inches.
Drop 4 had the same mass, and we moved to the orange prusik on the Aztec. Again, we observed in the neighborhood of 20 centimeters of slippage, with some minor sheath damage to the orange prusik and glazing on the 9mm rope. We went back to the tandem prusik belay with 8mm sterling sewn prusiks, no load releasing hitch. But this time we manned the belay with the thumbs up method and had about 45 centimeters of slack. That's typical with a manned belay. The peak force recorded was 2585 pounds force. I assume that the extra 45 centimeters of free fall accounts for the additional 800 to 900 pounds force compared to the first 3 drops. So obviously free fall of the rescue load is undesirable and slack in the belay line must be kept to a minimum. So let's watch drop 4.
Test is started.
3, 2, 1.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Test is started.
3, 2, 1.
Yeah, that was a
Yes, sir.
fucking movement. That's all.
Drop 5 was different than the first 4 drops in that we removed the set of force from the Vortex head and connected the belay rope directly with only the carabiner. The belay was again tandem prusik, 8mm sterling sewn, and no load releasing hitch. This belay was manned with the customary 45 centimeters of slack. Drop 5 generated our highest peak force of the testing cycle, 2,882 pounds force. It seems safe to assume that the Aztec Elite Pro set of 4s absorbs a considerable amount of energy in this configuration. With this worst case scenario of 280 kilograms on 3 meters of rope, some energy absorbing is a good thing. Let's watch the drop 5 video.
Okay, is everybody ready? Everybody ready?
Everybody's ready.
1, 1. 3, 2, 1. I don't think that peak force is that much. Well, they set this up to that bar yet. That was just, you know. 3, 2, 1.
Hopefully you'll draw some of your own conclusions after watching this series of presentations. We want this to be logically presented information to support a paradigm shift in how we protect the rescuer at the edge transition while using an artificial high directional, or any high directional for that matter. Our observations on January 18, 2012 were that the AHD had no apparent problem supporting the shock forces generated by the falling 280 kilogram mass. We observed that the Aztec Elite Pro set of 4s performed consistently and supported the 280 kilogram test mass in dynamic events. My conclusion is that the concept of temporarily supporting the belay line at the edge transition does in fact prevent a 3+ meter free fall, and seems to me to be a safe practice. Of course, further testing would be beneficial and is encouraged. We're going to hopefully do some more testing. Testing like this requires a lot of effort and support. I'd like to thank Reed Thorne and Ropeset Rescue for leading the way on this and for his significant efforts in making this test possible. I'd also like to thank CMC Rescue for providing an Arizona Vortex that we can drop on, and for sending their engineer, Cedric Smith, out to participate and lend his technical expertise. Dale Stewart from AHS Rescue was a huge help and supported us with gear. The Glendale Fire Department, Peoria Fire Department, Phoenix Fire Department, and Mesa Fire Departments all provided support in one way or another. And of course, this test would not have been possible without the members of the Arizona rescue community who attended and participated. I'd also like to thank Gary Bernard, who worked the camera boom, and Tony Neely, who helped with rigging. We hope you have questions, and as Reed Thorne said, it's important to ask questions. It's important to question the system, and important to find a better way to do things. So please contribute to this blog post if it's available. Thank you. I'm Tom Penley with Desert Rescue Research.